So when I was a boy of 15 years old, it's almost 45 years ago now, somebody taught me how to make a small ocarina. It's here. It's a small flute with a few holes, beautiful, really high, really sharp sound. Not easy to play, but I love them. And I made these flutes all my life. I went to festivals, I went to markets, I tried to sell them there and convince people they were able to play it. But most of the flutes end up in the kitchen drawer. So, and then about 15 years ago, I got really sick, and I was not able to do anything except for getting out of the bed like half an hour, 1 hour a day. And but somebody then gave me a present that was a xun. A xun is a Chinese egg-shaped flute. Beautiful instrument, but really difficult to play. You play it like this. It had a lot of possibilities, but I couldn't play it because, you know, I didn't have the power then. So, but I was playing and I thought, let's try to make it better. So I made some shapes, and I think I have one here. I made my own Zen flute, and you don't play it like this, but you play it like you're praying, really relaxed, and it doesn't have a high, sharp sound, but a beautiful low sound. And I really got inspired by those low sounds because they affected me. I felt more relaxed, and my breath started to get quieter. And then after I went to markets again and tried to sell my instruments, I found myself in front of the stand instead of behind the stand trying to sell small ocarinas, but in front of the stand explaining people about breath and about sound can affect your body. So I think that's the moment I got into sound work, and especially how sound works. Yeah, and I think that's also the moment I found out that I'm less interested anymore in music and musical instruments, but more in the quality of sound and the effect of sound on the body and soul. So I think there my new journey begins. Every single one of my instruments has a different connection to the soul and to the body. On purpose. So, but all of my instruments I try to make so they're easy to play, and it's not about the melodic possibilities it has or the amount of notes you can play, and it's not meant to play on concerts or compositions. All my instruments are built to be played from the heart and less with the brain. So you need to be able to play them easy. They need to hold easy, sound easy and comfortable. Because many people who use my instruments are people, they're not musicians, but they're people who work with sound workers. So normally when you play an instrument, you play it for somebody, you know, you're a musician and you play it and you perform. But I like to make instruments that when you play them, you are the listener yourself, and it's more to set an intention into the space and with the people you are. So you can be surprised yourself also. So they're not people who are receiving and people who are sending, but it's all in the same energy. And when people are asking me, are your instruments healing? You know what I think about sound healing? I like to use the word sound work, because I think when you can find a way to make people feel safe and relaxed and connected to the space and the persons they are with, I think a person and a body is able to heal itself, and you don't need any special powers for that. So no, my instruments are not healing, but I think my instruments, I try to make my instruments as tools to help you feel safe. And actually, playing these instruments as a meditation. Building the instruments, it's a meditation by itself. Because I also think the intention in which you make these instruments, and I make them for every person special, everybody who gets an instrument for me, it's specially made for them. So you try to put some of your own intention into the instrument, and you try to give the instrument so it travels with that intention, and it gets into the world. That's why I also think that the instruments, it's not you who pick the instrument, but it's the instrument who finds the person who's gonna play it. Somebody once asked me, what's your favorite instrument? Do you have any favorite instruments of yourself? And then I said, well, I'm able to fall in love every day also with my instruments, but actually I don't own any instrument of myself, because it's not me who I can say this is my instrument, but it's always possible somebody comes and already know, they come, they see that instrument, and I try to hide it, but in the end they will take the instrument, and I'm the lucky guy who can make a new one. So we think that we choose the instrument, but actually it's the instrument that lets itself be chosen. So that's the funny part of it. For me, clay it's such a versatile material. It will shape itself the way you want it, and you already can tell clay in front what you want it to be. So for me it's the most beautiful material. Besides that, the sound of low-fired clay, it's so beautiful. And one of the biggest challenges, the moment you make an instrument and it's still wet, like this one, and you play it, and it still has water in its walls, the sound is beautiful, but after it dries, it's gone. And then you will have to trust the clay that after the firing, it will give you the sound back what you put in before. So we need to trust each other. And of course, another challenge is making instrument of clay. Clay shrinks, so sound gets higher. So you have to tune it out of tune before firing to get it into tune after firing. And that really took me a lot of years to get it to figure that one out. So making an instrument of clay also is a double challenge, because they need to look great, but they also need to sound great. So sometimes I have instruments, they look beautiful, but they sound really terrible. So I smash them and I break them, because there's no sense. And sometimes you have an instrument that has a small scratch or whatever, and I love those instruments because mostly they will go to people who don't mind so much how they look like, but they have a great sound. So those are the ones, they stay with me a little longer. So making an instrument of clay, it's one thing, making a flute of clay, but these are 3 flutes, this instrument. So that's a triple challenge. But not only a challenge, it's also so interesting to get the characters of each of these 3 flutes together into one shape and make a harmonic instrument. That's so every instrument is really unique, not only how it looks like, but also how it sounds like and how it plays. What I also like about working with clay is I only use clay, and so earth, water, fire to fire them, and air to blow them. So it's very simple. I don't use any chemicals or other stuff to make this to shape my instruments. That's what I love so much about making instruments of clay. Of course, my instruments are completely hand built, but to get the exact size of each vessel, to get the perfect tuning, I use 3D printers to print the molds to shape the vessels, and everything from there, it's hand built. So I often speak about the way I decorate my flutes with terra sigillata. And people ask me, what's terra sigillata? Well, it's a very ancient technique already used by the Greek and the Romans. It's the very finest particle of clay. I get it out of river clay. I have a river here nearby, and I get the clay from there. And you distillate the fine particle out of that clay, and when you put that liquid, it comes a beautiful shiny liquid, like pearly. You put it on clay and you rub it, it gets shiny, and it's a beautiful finish without using anything else than clay, and I love it. So the whole decoration of my flutes is only made by that clay, and with mica, that's a mineral, and soap bubbles, and then after I do a smoke fire, and you get beautiful blends of colors and textures, and I love that technique. I mostly got inspired by the work of Sharon Rowell. She was a ceramic artist in the 80s, and she made beautiful vessel flutes. And one of her students, Rafael Bejarano, that was a Mexican shaman, he made other instruments, triple vessel flutes, who really inspired me to where I am now. And another person, Alan Tower, really helped me understanding way more about sound than I did then when I started making these flutes. Nowadays we are used to loud. Everything needs to be louder. So we need amplifying, and instruments need to be louder and harder and sharper. And but most of my instruments I make, they are softer than the voice. And the funny thing is, when you play these instruments in environments, you will see that the sound will not go over the people or the voices, but it will crawl under because of the low sounds. And also funny is when you play these instruments in nature, outside, you will see the reaction of nature in different ways. The birds will react different on a native flute than on a Zen flute or on an innate flute. Just go sit outside and try it. Most people who use my instruments are people who use sound in treatments or ceremonies, or at least to connect with other people through sound. So most of them are not musicians, but we have musicians, we have people who do meditation, yoga teachers, body workers, palliative caretakers. And my flute's especially designed to connect with other people. So when you have to choose one of my instruments, try not to listen to them as a performer or as a musician, but more like a listener. And also don't try to think, oh, I'm going to use it like this or like that. Just listen to the instruments like you can find them on the website or on YouTube. And I think the best instrument will call to you by itself, and you will know what to choose. You know, I always saw myself like an artist or an inventor, doing different things all the time. But lately my instruments got so much interest. I decided to focus on making them better and trying to get the best instruments to everybody. And I think in the future I will mostly work on new variations of the instruments, more beautiful sounds, and new instruments also. Like with a handpan community, like this is, they call it also the handpan under the flutes. I hope a community will arise that explores the possibilities of this instrument and also inspire me to create new instruments in the future. So I hope this is not this. I hope this is only the start, only the beginning of a new area of ceramic instruments. You know, polishing the instruments. It's such a relaxing job. I can do this for hours. I love this part. It's incredible to think how that small little ocarina, what it started and changed my life, and eventually brought me all over the world, building these instruments with special sounds, making sound insulation and meeting the most incredible people, all due a very small piece of clay.